Sheldon Bennett at DMG. You are CEO and COO at DMG Blockchain. You were joining us for a panel a little bit earlier. Now you're here to tell us a little bit more about DMG specifically. How you doing, Sheldon?
Great. Yeah, glad to be back. Glad to see you again, and enjoyed the panel. Enjoyed Daniel Kim. Many people may not know he was an analyst at Paradigm in a past life, and actually initiated coverage on DMG almost 3 years ago to the day.
Wow. That's a good little segue there, Sheldon. Well, I will let you I'll let you take it away. Oh, the ticker, by the way, I just wanted to mention for DMG is DMGI.
Great, thank you. So yeah, great to be back. Great to see Daniel and others that I've seen today. I think crypto's a great industry. It's changed a lot over the last few years. DMG has grown a lot over the last few years, and I'm looking forward to sort of bringing everybody through our company. Here's our forward-looking statements, as all investors should be aware of these issues and look at this information. Getting into DMG. So a few things about DMG. So our company is vertically integrated, and you're going to see and hear a lot about vertical integration the next 15 or 20 minutes while I explain DMG to everyone. But what I mean by vertical integration is I sort of see the company like an Exxon Mobil, where it has sort of upstream, exploration and production. It has sort of midstream distribution, refining, and then it has downstream, retail sales. And there's obviously R&D in there and other parts. And with DMG, we're trying to do the same thing. We have our core business, which is, sort of the upstream. It's creating the Bitcoins. It's the physical infrastructure. And then we have sort of the retail, or the movement of those Bitcoins through our analytics and forensics, which is really our software products that allow people to use Bitcoin in very responsible ways. Our company's not, huge in headcount. We're around 25 and growing. We're located up in Vancouver, BC. We have a subsidiary that's out of California, out of the San Francisco area, called Blockseer, that we purchased back in 2018. To date, we've raised just around 125 million in public markets. We own our large Bitcoin mining center in Christina Lake, BC, which is a privately owned and built substation that DMG constructed on our property. And of course, our symbol is on the TSX Venture, DMGI, and we're on the OTC as well. And for those over in Europe, we're on the Frankfurt Exchange. So a little quick story about us, and I normally do this presentation over an hour, so I'm going to try and move quickly through this, but you can see that we were founded back in 2016. Early in 2018, we listed. We built our substation, completed it on Christina Lake in late 2018. We've done different partnerships. We've got power infrastructure built properly. Crypto started coming back 6 months or so and really gaining momentum after the last halving in May. And since May, we've done some great things around our technology, and we've done some, what was a very large raise with our investment bank over the last few months as well. So as we have all been talking about, Bitcoin bull market is here. Bitcoin will bounce up and down. Other cryptos will bounce up and down. But, the movement of large investment funds and companies and the tweets of Elon Musk and all these things are all indicating that crypto is seen differently than it was back in the rally in 2017-18. And I think that, we're all believers that this is a permanent fixture in growing in the economy. And so with that in mind, how is DMG going to grow its business, and how is DMG going to create shareholder value? And so I like to think of our company sort of like a triangle. So this is sort of the vertical integration, where the base is power infrastructure. We need power in order to create Bitcoin, and we'll discuss about how we're being responsible in power. You need equipment, obviously. That's the servers. There's various different types of manufacturers. You need to run it properly. You need to have good energy management, good optimization, good software. But then you need to monetize that. When a Bitcoin is actually created, you need to take that Bitcoin and move and drive value onto it and continually touch it. So what you're going to find that's different about DMG and other crypto companies out there that you've seen today and heard of or read about is that, we're a pure play crypto mining company, and we mine crypto, and that's a core part of our business. But on top of that, we have something called Core Plus. Is after a Bitcoin is created, and we can stick it on our balance sheet, or we could sell it if we need cash to finance our operations. But after it's created, we keep touching it, and we keep monetizing, we keep driving revenue from it. And so this is the difference between us and many other companies out there, is that we're really focused on creating Bitcoins, but also we're creating the software that will continually monetize those Bitcoins once they're created. And I think that's very unique. With our purchase of blocks here, we built out its core competency, which was tracking Bitcoins. And you've probably heard of different companies out there like Chainalysis and CipherTrace and so on that sort of track and do Bitcoin provenance and give risk ratings around it. So we had that software early on, and we really directed that software and built that software to focus in on transacting in Bitcoin in a responsible and regulatorily approved manner. So you sort of look at us, we have our 85 megawatt substation. We have various supplier agreements so that we get equipment, which is hard in the strains of COVID and the problems with silicon and manufacturing of machines. We have our own software that helps us run our operations with automation as much as possible, since these servers do need a lot of tender loving care. We have made the conversion to Immersion. So we've announced that we're converting our entire operation over to Immersion cooling. And I'll have a couple of slides about that, but that really helps us lower the amount of power we use for the amount of hash rate that we are able to generate. And then we have our software platforms, and I have a few slides on the different pieces of software that really pull our company together and drive us up to this top part here, where we get into the higher value products around data analytics and financial services. And so in our core infrastructure, a lot of people have never been to a Bitcoin mining operation. They've sort of seen little press releases and seen little shots, but this is a shot in our place in Christina Lake. And I actually took this photo myself. I snapped it off. And on the one side here, on the right side, you can see all these cables. It looks like spaghetti. Those are actually Bitcoin miners. There's lots of them. They're loud. They take a lot of power. You can see all these power cables and network cables. On the other side, I picked this on purpose. On the other side, these are actually Ethereum miners. And so we do actually have some Ethereum mining operations. We mine ourselves. We also host for third parties. And so these are some Ethereum miners that we host for another company. And so you can see the dichotomy between sort of the two different looks. Now, none of these are beautiful. In the back end, there's a bunch of spaghetti cables and network cables in the back end there. So they're just set up a little bit different, the physical structure of the different types of servers. Just for those to know a little bit more about us, Google Maps hasn't updated in this region of Canada for a long time. So up in the corner here, you can see this is where our actual substation is, and there's a few shots of that. It's on our property. We don't use somebody else's substation. We built this ourselves. This way we don't impact the community. We don't have any adverse effects on the community that would be saying, because of our power needs that we cause, blackouts or brownouts or restrict the amount of power that the community around us can have. This is actually that little building right here. It's about 30,000 square foot building, and that was that snapshot you saw inside there. And then if you take a look here, just to give you an idea, this is where our data center sits. It's right on the US border. It's about 500 or 600 meters from the US-Canada border. And Spokane is about an hour and a half drive or so. And then of course there's Vancouver and there's Seattle. The good thing about this region is it's actually nice and cool, which really helps us throughout the summer when the hot months are there to keep the servers running nice and cool. And so, as I said, here's sort of some snapshots of us clearing out the area. You can see the building in the back here. This is us building and commissioning and finishing our own privately owned substation, which gives us access to this power. The power up here is a power line that we interconnect to. There's just over 200 megawatts of available power on that. When we looked for a site, we actually looked for a site that had a lot of unused or sort of, I wouldn't say stranded, but underutilized power. There's multiple dams in this area. With our 85 megawatts, if we took the entire 85 megawatts off that transmission line, they still have well over 100 megawatts left for other customers. So there's lots of expansion for future growth. And of course, we're close to the Columbian River. And so there's an abundance of hydroelectric power here. And this is just a picture of it finished and all commissioned. And they look a lot nicer when they're done. This is the building inside here. We took an old finger joint plant, which basically takes two pieces of wood and glues them together to make a longer piece of wood for sale. It went out of business, unfortunately, and we were lucky to come in and purchase this building and land and be so close to the transmission power to build to be able to build our substation. So it's just our workers building the racking and all the power infrastructure out. And this is sort of what it looks like at the end. You saw that picture earlier in the slide. This is just another picture down one of the walkways, and there's many of these pods of miners working in there. And you can see there's a lot of cabling and these big 800 amp panels that feed all the power into our servers. I spoke a little bit about our conversion to Immersion. This is something that we're actively doing. We have some great partnerships with industry players in the manufacturing and design of immersion tanks, as well as in the fluids. We've done a power study, and our power study was done by a third party, just so that we didn't get overzealous about immersion and try and push this without some real scientific background to it. And the study came out quite well. I mean, we ended up thinking we'd save about 10% of the power for the same amount of hash rate from our servers. But we actually ended up around 18% consistently of power being saved by removing the fans and using a fluid to cool them. And so that's a great savings, and that savings goes into our ROI, but it also helps us in our CapEx. So this is a great addition of converting over to immersion cooling. And not many people have seen immersion cooling, but it's a dielectric fluid, and that fluid goes over the servers and pulls all the heat out. And it's a clear fluid. It's very easy to work with, and I think the future of crypto is going to be, focusing on better ways to pull the heat off of all the servers in order to make them run very efficient, especially in warmer climates. The other part of our business is our software. So Blockseer, as I said, we purchased that company early on, and back in 2018 when we went public. It was a company that was focused in on data analytics around blockchain, so the Bitcoin being the main one, as well as Ethereum. We've taken that company that sort of had this regulatory legal outlook, and we focused it really on compliance, and specifically we've been looking at compliance in a way in which large institutions, banks, financial institutions, companies or organizations with strong corporate governance, ways that we can help them understand crypto, also getting more involved in it. And so you'll see in the next few slides a lot of information that we're going to give about, OFAC, compliant mining, these types of things. We've taken the data that we've collected from Blockseer, which is really data that was collected from many, many law enforcement agencies that we gave this software out for free. They help label a lot of the transactions in the Bitcoin blockchain that we use today, as well as our own dark web crawlers, our own Tor technologies, our way of scraping information, our way of communicating and getting data and data points about transactions and wallets and exchanges and gambling sites and so on and so forth. And we've pulled all that data together, and we've been using this in a way in which we think it's really going to unlock the potential adoption of crypto at a much larger scale in a regulatory compliant way. And so when you take a look at what we're trying to do with Blockseer on our software side, as I said, we collected a lot of information and analytics on Bitcoin and Ethereum when we started doing this back in 2015. But from that information we collected, that was sort of looking in the past. When you explore the blockchain, you look at things that are posted, and you're always kind of looking at the past tense and investigating. Sort of like the police, after a crime happens, you investigate and you try and put the data together. There wasn't this idea of pre-crime. Before a crime happens, let's go and arrest somebody. I think that's only a Tom Cruise movie right now. But we took that data, we turned it into real-time AML, and we said, let's take these labels and let's try and understand in real time whether or not a transaction should happen between two counterparties. And so, everybody knows and has seen that, Tesla was accepting Bitcoin. They turned around and said, now they're not accepting Bitcoins for their cars. But the idea there is that if I was a person that wanted to buy a Tesla, and you don't really know anything about me, you don't know my past history, and I gave you a wallet and said, okay, I'm going to transfer you a Bitcoin to buy this Tesla car, you have a little bit of a responsibility to make sure that you're not taking illicit funds. And so Wallet Score is a piece of software that would look at the provenance of that Bitcoin and tell Tesla, hey, maybe you shouldn't be taking this because these funds are, a link to, the various events or characters or OFAC blacklisted and sanctioned wallets. and not do that transaction. Much the same as banks do KYC, and large transactions that happen are scrutinized and looked at. And so we have this blocks here in Wallet Score. On top of that, we built our mine manager. Our mine manager becomes really important when I get into our pool slides, because the mine manager is a way that we can communicate and see in real time what's happening with all the miners, where they are, what they're doing. And you wouldn't think that that's that important in KYC and AML, but it actually becomes very important when we start talking about mining pools. And we have launched, as you can see, a major pool, and I have a couple slides on that we'll show you. We have a couple more pools being launched very shortly. As well, we have some new products coming out. So I have 4 products already up and running that are operating. I have 3 more, Breeze and Freeze, which are wallets for holding crypto. And there's a few special things around those wallets that make them quite unique for the market, as well as Petra, which is a way in which institutions or subscribers can pick how they want to operate within the Bitcoin ecosystem, and sort of carve out an area where they feel that they're safe and kind of meeting all the regulatory issues that they may have to meet in order to operate. And so I've sort of broken our different products into 2 sides, sort of safety and security, removing risk, and regulatory and compliance. And both of them are very important. And I think both of these areas are going to keep growing, especially when you see all of the information, discussion, and the events happening in the U.S. and Canada and other jurisdictions around regulatory and compliance, and safety, custody, security of crypto. So
Sheldon, it seems like you got a few more slides left. I want to just give you a heads up, because we did get a good amount of questions. So maybe try to wrap up and leave a couple minutes so we can get a couple of these
I'll
great questions answered. Cool.
Yes, like I say, I normally do this over an hour, so I'll try and wrap up. So the four operating platforms, these are just a couple of screenshots. So this is what the pool looks like. It's the first OFAC pool. We licensed this technology out to Marathon. Marathon's the largest U.S. crypto company. Everybody sort of knows who they are if you're a crypto investor. They have all of their hash rate on a pool with a technology that we've licensed to them. OFAC is obviously from the U.S. Department of Treasury, where they have blacklisted wallets that you're not allowed to do business with. So we're quite happy to be partnering up with Marathon and giving them this technology to ensure that they're doing compliant Bitcoin mining. Blocks here is, again, as I said before, the manager helps you run your operations. This is sort of a shot of intelligence. This is, how you track crypto, sort of in the past tense. Wallet Score, this is sort of what we're talking about, the risk ranking around wallets and provenance of the labels and who should you be doing business with. But just to jump into the pools, which is quite interesting, and we talked a lot about, ethical mining and the things you should do around sustainable energy. There's sort of a this dichotomy between a lot of pooling or hash rate in the East, but a lot of usage. So you see these nodes or the usage, people actually transacting in Bitcoin versus hash rate being very low. That means that your hash rate is not being managed or monetized over in North America. And so pools are responsible for this hash rate piece, where it's the monetization, or where is the hash rate working to create new Bitcoins on the blockchain. Nodes are about people actually using Bitcoin and transacting in it. And there's been a real push in North America, since there's so much investment going into crypto mining in North America, to bring the hash rate to North America and move it over from other places. And so, we as a company, and I'll try and wrap this up quickly, we as a company really focused in on why there isn't enough pool hash rate, what we can do in North America to bring more hash rate here, and how can we do it in a sort of a transparent, legal way. And so the biggest issues were, issues around OFAC clean blocks, KYC and all the users, what miners are contributing, who are they, should you be doing business with them, SOC 2 compliance, independent audit. These were all issues that public companies are running into. Private companies with good governance run into this as well. And so we took on that issue with our Blockseeker pool technology. And so, as I said, Marathon was the first company that really understood what we're trying to do. We teamed up with them. We helped them get this pool up. It's doing great. We're really happy to have that partnership with them. But we also have a partnership with Argo, and we're doing the same idea, but we're looking at sustainable energy. So we've created the first clean energy pool with Argo. We signed the Crypto Climate Accord, Argo and ourselves. We press released that actually today. And, we're really excited about not only a compliant pool, but a pool that is based on sustainable mining and transparency and energy consumption, and helping companies that maybe may not be that sustainable right now, but are on a path and would like to become more sustainable, and understand how they can have RECs and how they can move to sites where they can get green energy and ways to overcome all of the issues around clean power versus dirty power. And so we're happy to be leading that with all of our technology, and our mine manager and all of our pool technology comes into leading that and being able to analyze it and report on it. And so, yeah, I'll just wrap up. This is my last slide. I move quite quickly. As I said, we're sort of the only vertically crypto company out there with both hardcore physical assets for Bitcoin mining. But, we don't stop at just a Bitcoin being mined and on our balance sheet. We keep going and we keep that Bitcoin going over and over, and we keep transacting with it and keeping fees going through our pools and through our different software that can continually monetize and take transaction fees for our company and our shareholders. And we're really only focused in on the software side, regulatory and compliance. We're big believers that if we can bring solutions out to institutions and banks and other organizations that have huge client base, we can get mass adoption. With mass adoption in the market, it's just going to increase the value of crypto, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum, other cryptos. And that's really the focus of all of our software through the Blocksierra brand, is just to help create the solutions to allow more people to work in a regulatory compliant way, in a safe way within cryptocurrencies. And I'm ready for questions if we have some time.
Awesome. Yeah, we got time for probably one. Let me pop it on the screen here real quick. How much is DMG looking to expand their mining operations?
Well, that's a great question. You can answer it in a few different ways. You can talk in megawatts. You can talk in petahash. You can talk in locations. Right now, with our 85 megawatt substation, that location is virtually full. In Christina Lake, we are actually looking at actually now three new locations. So we are looking at expanding. Our expansions will come phased. We'll expand into a location that can do 100 or 200 megawatts. And these sound like big numbers, but nowadays they're not that big of a number in the world of crypto. Mm-hmm. And normally you add on 10, 15, 20 megawatts every 3 or 4 months, so every quarter or so, as you can physically install the equipment. So, our goals of expanding would be in the hundreds of megawatts, in addition to what we already have now at Christina Lake. And again, that'll take, a year and a half to add on another 100 megawatts or more. And as you've heard from other people, it's very capital intensive. So, to expand in crypto mining takes a great amount of capital, and it takes a great amount of engineering. All things that we, have access to capital, and some of our engineering is great. Many people have bought my crypto containers for many years from us. We build all sorts of equipment, and we advise other miners on how to get operations running properly and how to build out properly.
Sheldon Bennett, he's CEO and COO at DMG Blockchain. It is on the OTC. I gave the TSX venture ticker earlier. On the OTC, it's ticker DMGGF. We got the website up on our screen. It's dmgblockchain.com. Sheldon, any other ways that you'd want investors to get a hold of somebody at DMG or yourself?
Yeah, on our website, you can click in. There's a form there. You can add any question you want. There's a drop down if it's for media, if it's for investor relations, if it's for mining, if it's for software. Just pick a category and fire a question off. And there's like 6 of us that get them. We work through them all the time, trying to answer them as quickly as we can. It's a great way to interact with us. So awesome. we're always there and answering these questions.
I'm sure investors really appreciate that, Sheldon. All right, we're going to let you go, and you have an excellent weekend, sir.
Thank you.